Great day. You're listening to the podcast, She Who Believes, and I am your host, Vivian Bell, and I am indeed She Who Believes. So, last week we discussed get over yourself. This week we're going to talk about get into you. I know it seems backwards, awkward, just stay with me. But we're discussing from the inside out. Now, if you guys haven't realized by now that I am literally, outside of being She Who Believes, I'm a mother who is totally inspired by her children. Now, I know that might sound weird to some of you, but I've always said that if you are not learning something from your kids, then you're doing this parenting thing wrong. This week, my son left to serve our country in the United States Air Force. I'm beyond proud of him, but not because he enlisted. I'm not ashamed of that either. But I am proud of the fact that of who he is at his core. He's 23 years old, and he said to me, "It's time for me to be a man, to step into manhood, and to start my life." I don't know what that is or what it even looks like, but I know that I can't get it here. To which I smiled, agreed, and gave him my full support. The self-reflection did it for me. For him to be able to look on the inside, to sit and spend time with God, with himself, and to come to this realization that he needed something more. It took a lot. It led to some very deep conversations between he and I, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Being a counselor, being his mother, being the person who loves him and who will fight for him. And then there's also my oldest, my princess, the princess. She's 25, and after opening her own business a couple years ago now, she discovered that she had a greater love, and that love would also help her in her business. Now, she is still going to have her brick and mortar cafe and open mic spot. But as of right now, she is also going to be running her own firm once she takes her CPA and aces it in a couple years. I'm speaking life, as you can see. I'm proud of her because she had the courage to look within and pivot. That is, for me, is everything. Being a coach and a counselor, knowing the importance of being able to see a point or find that pivot point and actually have the courage, the faith to actually pivot and to make the necessary changes is literally everything. They are both brave, and they're both bravely doing the work to become all that God has called them to be. Are they perfect? No, I'm not. You're not. But they are literally amazing. Now, you might be saying, like, she's bragging about her kids. What does any of this have to do with faith? It has everything to do with faith. And it's time for you to get into you. And to figure out what you need, what makes you tick, and what you're called to do, and what you have to give up about you, within you, what you'll have to choose to let go so you can pivot, and so that you can also be what God's called you to be. Now, this week's scripture is coming from 1 Samuel 16:7, and I'll be reading it from the King James Version. It reads as follows: "But the Lord said unto Samuel, Look not on his countenance, or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart." Now, it is time out for us just dressing up the outside of us. It's time to dig deep and to reveal what is on the inside. Good, bad, and ugly. We've got to give it to Jesus. It is time for us to work on ourselves on the inside, because that is the part that is eternal. Our spirit, our soul, the spirit man. That is the part also that God sees and judges us by. What are some things that you need to surrender to God? Yep, that question is for you. You don't have to answer it out loud, but even if you do, I can't quite hear you through this podcast. But I want you to really take an introspective look, a deep dive, and find out what it is that you are needing to surrender. I'd like to bet you that God's been tugging on that thing for a little bit. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. It takes great faith to do this kind of work, but I want you to know that the you that God created, is definitely worth it all. You must have faith in God's love for you in order to be able to make this shift, this change. You've got to be able to trust that his love is unconditional, that he won't change his mind about you when he finds out who you really are, because the reality is he already knows. He knew before the foundation of the world. He knew the choices you would make. So I always tell my children that God will never be disappointed by anything that they do, because he knew they would do it before they did. It's true. He's God. Alpha and Omega, beginning and end. He knows all things. It takes faith for us to trust him. It takes faith for us to trust that he will never leave us nor forsake us. Yet, when we take a moment to look at it, the truth is, God has already proven such a love to us. And he's proven that we can trust it through his sacrifice of Jesus Christ. God shows up and blesses us in spite of us. God is indeed faithful. Why do the work? Why dig deep? Why open up wounds? Or, well, the truth is the wounds never actually got closed. You might have packed them down and covered them up, but covered up wounds never heal. And so it is my desire to see you become whole, to be whole, to allow God to make you whole before this year ends. Like, have we not lived long enough broken, dealing with covering up our traumas and hurts and pains, when God is saying, if you will give it to me, I will I will heal it, and I will turn it to good. I'll get good out of it. Again, why do the work? Because you are worth it. Because there is greater in store, but you can't go to the next level like this, like you are. You must leave your pettiness and your need to be right and the control that you think you have when you don't forgive others. The only person who dies, the only person who gets sick and ill from unforgiveness is the person who refuses to forgive. I know that being vulnerable is scary, but it is also freeing, and it's necessary for you to go to the next level. You just need to invite God into the places that he actually already knows about, so that he can show you the places that you don't know about, that you might become all that he has placed on the inside of you to become. So, guess what? Time's up. It's time for you to choose. It's time for you to decide. It is time for you to be free. It is time for you to get into you. That might sound selfish, but it literally is not. It's called self-care. It's called self-awareness, and it's called self-esteem, and the ability to be able to walk confidently in the power and authority that God has given to you. It's your time. It is your time. Well, before my time is up, I would like to thank you all for always listening, for showing up 5 years, 5 seasons you guys have showed up and allowed us and trusted us to speak a word to you, to your life, to help to increase your faith, to stretch your faith, and to help you become all that God has called you to become. That is our mission. That is our goal, to love others and to encourage you to have faith in God. Well, this week we are shouting out the locations. Again, we shout out the locations for our website. So I need you guys to understand that, like, rebranding, it seems like a really cool thing, and it really, really is. It was a blessing from God that we were able to hear his voice, to know that we needed to make that pivot and to shift. But you guys have just come right along with us, and so we want to say thank you for doing that. Those of you who just came right over to the mindingwhatmattersnow.com with us, we're shouting out the US, Bangladesh, Canada, India, and Russia. You guys have showed up for us consistently. You're still hanging in there with us as we continue to navigate things, introduce new programs, introduce new products, and to just show you guys all what Minding What Matters is really, really about. And then those of you who listen to the podcast continuously, we are shouting out, of course, the US, Germany, UK, India, Florida, Washington, Virginia, North Carolina, California, Ohio, Texas, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Georgia, New York, Arkansas, Michigan, Illinois, Tennessee, and New Jersey. And I want to give a special shout out to a listener in Cordova, Tennessee, my mama. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. And I also want to give a shout out to the young men and women who just literally started BMT in the United States Air Force over at, Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. So we are praying for you all. We thank you for your service. We thank you for joining to not only protect this country, but to just improve life here in America. So we thank you for that. Again, we thank you all for listening. Oh, and we do want to remind you guys that our subscription journals are going to be live in just a few more days. We announced them last month. We announced them on social. We announced them here. And I am so excited about how this turned out. And so we will be sharing the link to the landing page for ordering and scheduling this subscription. Now, they will also be available on Amazon. However, the subscription option will not be available on Amazon. And you really don't want to miss it, because for just a few dollars more a month, you will get your journals sent to you ahead of time, 2 weeks prior to the next month, or when you're able to utilize them, the next dated month. And then there's the Facebook group, there's giveaways, there's pop-up lives, there is free downloadables. There's so much that's packed into the subscription, so you're not going to want to miss this. So stay tuned. How do you stay abreast to this? You go over to mindingwhatmattersnow.com and you subscribe. And once you subscribe, once it's live, you're going to get an email with a link, and you'll be able to go on and schedule. Now, I call it a journal, but I was saying to my bestie today that I don't actually really know what to call this thing, because it turned into, it is a devotional. You will have an actual devotional for every single week of the month. There's again a devotional with Bible study questions, and so it's a whole Bible study. So each week you have your Bible study already laid out for you. Then you've got your planners, you've got your monthly, your weekly, you've got some expense tracking in there. There's some mental health and self-care that is in there. So you've got a devotional, and you've got a place to journal, prayer request, and then there's also, what else? There's so much other stuff that's in there. There are to-do lists. There's every single thing that you need to be productive. It's there. And so some people may think, okay, well, I have all these separate things. Why should I get this? That's your answer, so that it's not all separate things. Each month it will be themed. They'll have different designs. There will be, again, you've got your devotional. Everything is going to be in one place, and you won't even have to go out and shop. It will show up for you. So be on the lookout for that. We're super excited about it. And I think that is all that is new, or that we can actually talk about and release in this particular podcast. But next week, I'm going to have something else super exciting for you guys to hear about. It's going to be actually a free tool that you guys will be able to receive, along with some other things. And if you're an entrepreneur and a business owner, you're definitely going to want to be listening in. So anyways, until next time, you have listened to the podcast, She Who Believes, and I am your host, Vivian Bell, and I am indeed she who believes. God bless.